Volunteers have been helping migrants landing on the coasts of Lesbos in Greece, like in these images from 2015. The aid workers say they are doing the only right thing, saving lives. But Greece says what they're doing is illegal. Today, the Greek authorities are prosecuting 24 humanitarian activists on charges that include espionage and forgery. They could be jailed for up to 8 years. Among them, Sara Mardini, a Syrian activist based in Berlin. In an interview in 2019, she told DW,
I knew deep inside that I've done that because I wanted to help people, and that's given me motivation.
She became known around the world after her and her sister's refugee story to Europe was made into a Netflix film. The two sisters had fled the war in Syria and crossed the Mediterranean Sea to Greece in 2015, later settling in Germany. But she returned to Greece to help others arriving from the sea. She was arrested and charged in 2018. Sean Binder, an Irish national and certified rescue diver, was volunteering on the same rescue mission and is also among the 24 facing the trial.
What would you do if you see somebody in the water and they're reaching a hand out to hold you? You would obviously put your hand out as well and pull them in. As soon as you've done so, you've committed the same crime as I've committed.
Human rights organisation Amnesty International is supporting Mardini and Binder during their trial. It says the charges are baseless and is calling for them to be dropped.
We should also make sure that we give a strong message that such criminalization should not be allowed. It's a pattern across Europe. We've seen in other countries as well that people who are there just to help have faced charges, criminal or others, in an effort of states to deter such humanitarian assistance.
But the Greek authorities say they are overwhelmed by the number of migrants. They argue that organisations helping migrants are encouraging more to come. The trial that commences today will reopen the question of how European countries should respond to the people who make this most dangerous journey. Nearly 2,000 people died or were missing in the Mediterranean Sea last year alone.
From Human Rights Watch, Eva Kose works on migration, asylum and minority rights with a focus on Greece. Is this a case of saving lives or abetting illegal immigration?
It is a case of saving lives, and it's important to say that today is the misdemeanor charges that are being tried. But there's also a separate felony case against Sara Mardini, Sean Binder and the rest, and there they face 10 to 20 years of prison for each migrant they have saved. So it's a case of criminalization of saving lives, of humanitarian work. And unfortunately in Greece, over the last few years, we've seen an increasingly hostile environment for human rights defenders and specifically for those who work to defend the rights of migrants and asylum seekers.
I understand these guys are trying to save lives, but at the same time, doesn't their work encourage people smuggling?
But it's a matter of values. Are you going to? So we could say also the opposite: letting people drown would discourage more people from coming. But is it okay to say that? And especially, it's against the law. It's against international human rights law, but also against Greek law.
But at the same time, passengers, knowing that they'll be helped if they get into trouble in the Mediterranean, will be more likely to take this sort of trip, to pay people smugglers to bring them to Europe. And at the same time, over 1,200 people died in the Mediterranean last year.
Yes, they died because of the dangerous routes that people are taking to cross into the European Union. And we've been calling Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International and many other organizations for more safe and legal routes. But these are not happening. And as long as these are not happening, people will continue to take these routes. And even if we're saying now that Sara Mardini, Sean Binders are being tried for the help that they are bringing. But people keep coming to Greece. Arrivals have dropped, but they have dropped for the wrong reason. It's not that people are not coming to Greece. They have dropped because the Greek government is increasingly pushing people back and putting lives in danger. So it's an irony here. On one hand, we're saying that, people saving lives are putting more people in danger because they are encouraging them to come to Greece. But at the same time, the Greek authorities themselves are putting lives in danger by putting people back in motorless boats, abandoning them in the middle of the Aegean Sea when, there are high winds, waves, and risks of people drowning. And there have been accidents. Actually, a few months ago, Greece was condemned by the European Court of Human Rights in a very big case where over 10 migrants and asylum seekers from Afghanistan, mostly women and children, drowned during a pushback operation by the Greek Coast Guard. And Greece was condemned by the European Court of Human Rights.
So, Eva, should Greece and should the EU, if I can just jump in here, be prioritising border control or sea rescue? I mean, is it possible to prioritise both?
I think it's possible to prioritize both. There are many steps that need to be taken in order to protect the lives of people. First of all, we need to go to the countries that produce refugees and end the abuses there, so people don't leave their countries. But then, at a second step, of course, each country has the right to protect their borders, but they can do that in a humane way and by respecting the law. And the law says that people should have the right to access asylum, should be able to enter Greece and ask for protection if they need so. In these boats, there may be Turkish asylum seekers who are escaping the Erdogan regime. But not only them, of course, people from Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia. Anyway, it is possible to do both, but it needs good planning, funding, and there are funds that have been, taken by Greece, billions of euros to do so. So, yes.
OK, we'll have to leave it there. It's been interesting talking to Human Rights Watch researcher Eva Kose. Thank you for being on DW News.
Thank you very much.
And joining me now from the Greek island of Lesbos is Grace O'Sullivan, an Irish member of the Green Party in the European Parliament. Welcome to DW, and thank you so much for joining us. We understand you were present in the court on Lesbos today. What were your observations?
Yes, Sarah, I was in the courtroom this morning when the proceedings started. It was quite chaotic, to be honest. There were about 120 people in the room. The judge presiding in the court was going through the normal procedures to make sure that all of the individuals accused, that she had their paperwork. And a number of the accused were actually in the room. Some were not present, including Sarah Mardini, who is considered a security risk here in Greece. So in any case, the judge, she went through and there was an issue potentially in terms of adjourning the case again, but she moved forward. She is listening now to the case, and she will hear it out today and again on Friday. But Sean Binder was there, and the other humanitarians, including Peter Wittenstein, who's 70 years of age, and they are waiting and waiting and waiting for an end to this horrific, as Amnesty International say, baseless allegations, and their lives are on hold.
So what is your message then? What do you make of the allegations being made by the Greek authorities against the likes of Sean Binder and the others?
Well, look, if you were to meet someone like Sean Binder, you would know that this is not a criminal, as Sarah Mardini or any of the others. So they just need to let go. The Greek authorities need to let go of this. They need to put this case behind them and allow these humanitarians, they're not criminals, get on with their lives. So I'm hoping that we see a positive outcome this week, that the charges of charges are quashed.
How do you support them as an MEP?
So I took the lead in writing a letter to the European Commission, which was supported by 89 other MEPs, just asking the Commission to recognise that these are humanitarians, not criminals, and they shouldn't be criminalised. So through my actions, being here, bearing witness, it is drawing more international attention to the situation. But it also does raise the question about the EU external borders and the preparedness of the different member states and the support that member states need to process migrants as they come through. One thing, Sarah, is this is not going to stop. The passage of migrants will continue and potentially increase. Therefore, the EU needs to be ready. It needs to have the facilities available so that we can meet people with dignity and respect and do our utmost to try to support them. And that's why I'm here in Lesbos today, to support Sean Binder and the others who are facing these charges.
We thank you so much for joining us to share that message. MEP Grace O'Sullivan with The View from Lesbos. We appreciate it.